Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, you know, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
And I give them the opportunity to look at it kind of through my eyes. And I'm teaching them what I know so that they can make it, we give the freedom to our kids a lot of times on the field to make adjustments on their own based on the knowledge that we've given them throughout the week.
This time of season begins the playoff push, and in this episode of Champions, presented by Signature Championship Rings, Rodney Flowers, the defensive coordinator for Bixby High School, highlights some of his strategies behind their 9 state championships. We discuss the significance of self-scouting, thorough film analysis, and a proactive approach of the coaching staff enhanced by data analytics. Coach Flowers emphasizes the importance of structured practices and the use of technology to optimize player performance. As you lock down that league championship or head into the playoffs, make sure you remember our partner, Signature Championship Rings. Signature Championship Rings is a leading designer and supplier of championship rings, serving over 10,000 teams and organizations with a focus on quality craftsmanship, easy team ordering processes, and affordability. Signature Champions celebrate every champion and their achievements, making their moment last a lifetime. For more information, visit www.signaturechampions.com/podcast.
Deciding which credit card or loan is right for you is like trying to choose where you want to eat for dinner. Except when you finally get to the restaurant, the menu's riddled with jargon that no average foodie could understand. So at Credit Karma, we keep things simple. We show you personalized recommendations that align with your money goals and help you turn the confusing fine print into terms you can actually understand. And as a cherry on top, we provide a detailed overview for a new card or loan before you apply. That way, we can help you make decisions faster and with more confidence. Download Intuit Credit Karma today to get started.
This episode is brought to you by CarMax. Searching for your next car? Don't settle. Thrive. At CarMax, it's easy to shop online or in person. With upfront pricing and tools designed to help, finding a car you love has never been easier. Plus, you can sell or trade in your current vehicle with an online offer in minutes. No strings attached. Start shopping now to find a car you'll love at CarMax.com. CarMax, the way it should be.
It's playoff time around the country, and as we take a look at how we prepare for this, especially on the defensive side of the ball, there's a lot of things that go into it, from looking at what we do and our self-scout to determining how opponents might play us, especially if we've seen them before. And joining me to discuss a variety of things in that regard is the defensive coordinator at 9-time state champion Bixby High School, Rodney Flowers. Coach, great to have you here on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's always a good time to get to talk ball and to visit with guys about the way we do things here in Bixby.
Yeah, you guys have been doing it well. We had Coach Montgomery on earlier in the year, and he shared a lot about your program and the unique things that you guys do. And obviously, things have paid off, and the results being 9 state championships for you guys, an incredible run here. And, a lot of that does come down to the planning. I mean, you guys you've been there, you've done that. There's certainly a lot of things you've learned along the way. And now you have an approach that when you get to this part of the season, there's some things that you're going to do. And one of those things is just taking a look at the self-scout. Everybody has a lot of film at this point, so you really better be prepared for understanding what you've done.
Yeah, there's a lot of emphasis on what we do on looking at how teams have played us, and especially if they are a lot of same personnel, a lot of the same schematically. speaking, as other teams that we face. And so we go throughout the season, and we kind of learned this the hard way. We didn't do a very good job of self-scouting ourselves late in the year in district play one year, and we got exposed and lost the game. And so felt like after the season, when I was watching film on ourselves, I saw that we were inefficient on doing a few things. And had we caught that earlier in the year when I first saw it, like week 2 or week 3, week 10 or 11, we might not have gotten beat. And so we put a lot of emphasis as a staff on going back each week and putting in all the data for our previous opponent, and then going in, every other week or so and seeing how teams are playing us in order to prevent those losses from happening, because you've gotten complacent and you've done the same thing over and over and over again, and so complacency is the fastest way we found that you get yourself beat.
I know you mentioned to me that some of the things in your approach to it is reactionary in some ways, that you guys can look at what an opponent does, and a lot of times you might see something different. I mean, obviously you guys are a perennial powerhouse. I think just that alone creates some mistake that maybe people feel they got to do things differently against you. So you have to be prepared to react. How do you approach that?
A lot of it is we have really smart kids here and great coaching staff. And so we're able to make some adjustments. And so as we start to see what the team's going to do to us, a lot of teams are going to be who they are, and they've got their identity, and we feel like we've gotten ours sometimes. And so I want to, instead of being reactionary to what an offense does, which I feel defensively we are, they all know the plays, everything. We got to react to what their plays are, even though we've got the best tendencies with all the data analysis that we do and all the scripts and everything we produce during the week. But I feel like we got to find ways to force their hand sometimes. And with the data that we've gotten from our self-scout and all those things, we can say, hey, we're going to do this to force their hand, because that's, in this situation, that's not what they're wanting to do. And it seems pretty simple, but sometimes I feel like when you sit there and you think that, oh, I've played them this way and it's just going to get the same result, that's not so true. Just because you played a 12, 21 personnel team 3 or 4 times this way, they're scheming you just as much as you're trying to stop them. So it's always important, I think, to self-scout yourself and then look into the future on what have they done. I mean, I'll go back films from previous years even and try to make sure that there's not something that they've done in 2 years, 3 years earlier that's going to get me in the long run and help us and prevent us from winning the game.
Yeah, you have those times too when you see those opponents that you saw earlier in the year, and that's going to come into play too, and knowing, okay, well, here's what it looked like before, and kind of, I guess, intelligently predicting some things that they might do. As you said, maybe you look at some game plan from before, film from before, ways they've done things. What ideas come to mind with that? And I guess some tangible examples of how that's worked out for you in the past.
Well, we're very fortunate, I feel, here in Bixby, because our offensive staff is very innovative. And so I feel that we're pretty basic defensively. And so I've caught myself in the spring many times sitting there trying to get stops against our guys, and they're doing all these crazy motions and pulling 3, 4, 5 guys on gap scheme plays. And so forcing their hand sometimes and calling different fronts in different situations, because it doesn't matter how many times they've ran a play. And you've got all this data. With huddle and all this data analysis and the numbers our guys crunch and stuff like that, we can have a 90% tendency on a team. But if you bank on that because that's what they've done before, when you get to the playoffs, you're going to get everybody's best, which I feel we give everybody's best every single week. And so if we are complacent and we sit there and we harp and tell the kids, hey, we're going to be a run stop, we're run stop. We're going to stop the run and force the pass, or we're going to do this or whatever on situational. We're going to bend but don't break, whatever those analogies you want to use are. I think that you can sit there and say the biggest thing is I've said it too many times probably already, but if you're complacent, because we are always going to play a team in the playoffs that we played in the district, because our classification is fairly small. We're the biggest classification, but there's only 16 teams in it. And so we've got to make sure that we've checked out who we are. We know what we've done in the past. We know who they are. We know what they've done in the past. And then we've taken it. Maybe it's something that's personnel wise. Maybe they had someone injured that we didn't know about, or all those things. I think if you leave any stone unturned, you're going to set yourself up for failure.
Yeah. When you're looking at that, and again, to this point in the year, your guys have watched a lot of film. You've watched a lot of film. Again, knowing you're going to get their best and that it might not be everything that you saw on film. How much emphasis and time do you spend with your players watching those games, versus the amount of time of, guys, let's get out on the field and get our work in and do what we do best?
Well, I'll be honest with you. We as a staff, we are very diligent about making cut-ups for our kids and sending them the video we want them to watch. Because you can track on Huddle and you can see that they've watched 2 hours or whatever, and that could have been anybody logged into their computer. They could have logged in and forgot it was logged on and been playing Fortnite or, I don't know, Rainbow Six Siege or whatever video game they're playing now. And they could be just sitting there watching highlights. They could just be going, oh, this is the best plays or whatever. But we try to break it down even more so into what are they going to get. And I know a lot of guys do, but we don't want them to watch highlights. We want them to watch their base stuff, playlist of their trick plays, and our staff's going to go in there and make notes on it. And a lot of teams, good teams, are already doing this, so it's nothing that's rocket science. But we are going to make sure that we see that, they see that over and over again. And then we're very fortunate. We have strength and conditioning in the school day here. And so when the kids finish with their workout, they come over with me and I'll sit in there with them for sometimes 15, 20, sometimes 30 minutes of the hour after they get through working out. And we're watching film and I'm able to break down each day something different of the opponent. And I give them the opportunity to look at it kind of through my eyes. And I'm teaching them what I know so that they can make it, we give the freedom to our kids a lot of times on the field to make adjustments on their own based on the knowledge that we've given them throughout the week and the parameters that we've given them throughout the week. And then they can make adjustments. And sometimes it gets me out of bad calls. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I can dial up the best blitz, but then they come out in something completely different and the kids can make an adjustment to it because we've seen these adjustments or these motions or these shifts on film. Then we're going to be better off because the kids are going to get us in the right spot. And we're very fortunate to have the time with the kids to watch a lot of film. We have meetings every day before practice. If you need post-practice meetings, we meet. We have install meetings early in the week. So, like I said, once again, nothing that no one else is not doing, but I find it valuable that I'm able to, as a coordinator, sit here with the entire staff and the entire defense, as many as I can get at one time. Because if you have them all there, then you can talk about all the portions of it versus like the position coach is going to be mainly based in his meetings time off of that position. Whereas I can go holistically and show them, hey, when you don't do your job, it makes this happen for the linebackers. And when the linebackers don't do their job, it makes this happen for the safeties and so on and so forth. And so they get a better grasp of the entire defense versus just their little position group.
Taking a look at practice at this time of the year, what things do you guys start to adjust? What does practice look like you now as you get into this late part of the season?
I'll be honest with you, we don't change our practice schedule ever. I have the same script. I can pull up a practice script from 2012 when I got to Bixby High School, and we're doing the exact same practice script almost with a few tweaks in there. And I've talked to a lot of guys about it. They were like, well, you don't adjust your practice to be able to work the things that you need to work better or that you're better at or that you're worse at or whatever. But our practice script is pretty much the same. We'll cut our practice periods down to 4 minutes instead of 5 minutes, but we don't ever really adjust our script. What we do is we utilize our time wiser, I think, as we get further into district, further into getting prepared to make a run. And so that's something we don't do a ton of here in Bixby. But I feel on the same note that our kids know what to expect every single day. And if we have 10 minutes for sevens and we have 10 minutes for inside and we have 10 minutes for team, when I need to get 20 plays in all those situations and all those group settings. And so they're going to hook up and we're going to get after it. And they know I've got to get going because I'm going to have to go hard for this time and this time. And this is my learning session in individual. So I need to be able to think more here. I need to produce more here. I need to play fast here. So I think those things, keeping it the same, allows our guys to be able to understand what we're expecting at that moment, because I don't like the thought of changing the script over and over, the schedule, the practice script, and then the kids always guessing what we're doing that day. And so we've kind of went with the mantra of, hey, let's keep it the same, and you as a coach control the variable.
When you're looking at the physical aspect of it, especially in terms of contact, and some of this might even be your approach throughout the year, but as you're getting into this part of the year where the mental game, I mean, they've done the physical stuff throughout the year. They've learned the techniques. Certainly you want to keep getting them better, but putting the focus more on the mental, maybe taking some of the contact out, or is that just something you've done throughout the season?
We honestly, we're in shells, and we don't ever have pants on and padded full pads, if you will, throughout the whole entire season. It helps our guys stay fresh. We track them with Titan systems. I'm just giving out, this is free publicity for Titan and Huddle, I guess, today, huh? We use the Titan system, and we track their mileage. The kids are working through right there with that, and we don't really tackle to the ground. It's a lot of thud practices, I mean, especially late in the year. Yeah, we're going to pull back, if you will, on some of the guys as far as maybe the good thing about our program, I guess, also is our strength coach and our strength staff. They do a great job of monitoring the in-season workout and post-season workout and preseason workout, and they adjust that accordingly using those GPS systems. And so I would say that we're not a big take them to the ground physical attacking team anyway. We're going to get the horses to the race, if you will. And I think that helps us, knock on wood, keep our kids safe throughout the season and enable us to maximize the reps that we get, but minimize the injuries that could potentially come from that.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
How long have you guys been using the Titan tracking system?
I think this is our third or fourth year. I know our first year or so, we were able to just do a lot of data tracking. And then now our guys and our staff, our team, are using it more on how many miles are they putting on, peak performance during that time, and how many times are they at peak performance. And then they compare that to data that we use throughout the summer, or that we gain through the summer with our testing and stuff, to see if they're at peak performance at the, week 10 or later in the season as they were in the summer. Then we know we've done a good job of building that base throughout the summer and into the season. And it helps us too, looking at do we condition after practice or do we not condition after practice? If they're showing a high number on their GPS, then maybe that's the time where we start pulling off a little bit.
Now, was that something you embraced right away, or did it take you some time to get used to it and understand exactly what that could do for you?
I'll be honest with you. I'm a football coach. I'm not a GPS training superstar by any means. And we are, like I said, very fortunate. We got a lot of coaches that are good at it, but our training staff, our strength and conditioning staff, they champion all of it. And so we're very fortunate here to have all those guys. And Coach Myers and Coach Solomon, they do a great job of working with our kids and making sure that they're at the top of their game when it comes game time. I'd be lying to you if I told you, man, I could tell you everything that we do and all the good things about the way we train with them and utilize them. But part of it is, I think Coach Montgomery hired me to be a defensive coordinator and call the defense. And we hired the best guys we can get possible to be our strength and conditioning staff. And then, so together we work as a team and get the job done and get our guys at peak performance when it goes to go time.
Yeah. You do let it help you inform some decisions though on practice time, reps, those kinds of things.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, we've never really had a situation come up where the guys have came up and said, hey, he's running too many miles or whatever, because it's a deal where our kids are training to be two-way starters. Right? And that's the way most of our kids are all the way up through most of them through their junior year or so, is they're playing on both sides of the ball the entire time. We don't really specialize offense or defensive staffs or emphasis on those guys until like junior year if they're going to. Even then, there's a lot of seniors we have that are playing both sides of the ball. And so they're training to play both sides of the ball as much as possible. But if at any point in time they ever come up and said, hey, we need to look at this or we need to look at that, we obviously would definitely jump into that realm. And I think that's a way a team could really utilize that GPS unit, is to see. I think if you're still getting peak performance and we track their weight and their gain and loss throughout the week to week and throughout the season. And I think that all those things play into what are we getting out of this kid. If they're still at peak performance, we know that we're still good, that we can keep going the way that we're going.
Coach, to wrap things up, when you take a look at the playoffs, what things are you really focusing on yourself to make sure, hey, what we put together, the plans we have, want to make sure that we're out there putting our guys in the best situations, and especially making sure that it is still simple enough for them to play fast?
One of the big factors I feel for us, I mean, when you get into the playoffs, you're playing against the best there is, and it's win or go home. And so, we don't want to put the pressure on the kids to shoulder all that, but at the same boat, we're going to tell them real quick, you can take a day off, and you can go to basketball and wrestling, or we can win the last game and keep rolling here. But the staff does a very good job, and every year that we've been successful is a constant reminder for our staff and our kids is how are we going to make sure that we aren't getting complacent? How can we still push the needle forward every single game, every single practice, every single day? And I think that mentality has helped us a ton because it keeps us thinking that we're not there yet. When you think you've arrived and you think you've got it figured out, you're going to get your tail beat up. I'm pretty sure I've already said that, but that's the way we go about things here. And we're going to try to put our best stuff out there every single game. I mean, not just like everybody else. And as the playoffs come along, it's a time of the year, though, where it starts to cool off and the weather's getting better. And as far as the amount of heat that you've dealt with throughout the summer events, like right now, we're sitting at 100 degrees temperatures every day. And I think that you can get kids there and get them at their health. And I think one of the things we've done pretty good is when we get times to get guys into the game to keep our guys fresh, we do so. And our backup guys are going against our starters every single day in practice, just like everybody else does. But we're telling those guys, hey, we want your best stuff. If you're a backup guy, you're a scout team guy, you're giving us the best look. You're giving us our best stuff. And then what they're doing in turn is they're getting better and better as the year goes out. So they're able to go in and give us a few plays here or there that maybe they weren't ready to give us in the spring or even in the early in the school year, in the season. And so we're going to try to utilize that. And then the big thing is, like, you lose and you're done. I mean, there's a finality to that. And we try to stress it without, like I said, making them worry too much about it. But there is some finality to the playoffs. I mean, you don't want to get it on, that's fine. You're not going to win. You're going to go home. I absolutely hate losing, and that's one of the things that drives me. I don't have a lot of hobbies, but I hate losing enough that's going to drive me to call everybody I can and ask them, did you watch our game on live stream, and what did you see that we weren't good at on defense? And asking our offense, we have the continuity of our staff. I think our offensive and defensive staffs can talk to each other and say, hey, coach, you guys are doing this, and I don't think it's very sound, or hey, this play right here, it would work better if you did this or that. We've been together so long now that we can lean on each other. And Coach Snyder, offense coordinator, he sits right beside me in the booth. We're both in the booth calling the offense and the defense. And we're always talking back and forth if we see something. And I think when you get the divisive staff and you have things like that, I think that prevents you from pushing that needle forward and being able to accomplish your goal of winning the last game.
Coach, I appreciate you taking the time and sharing some insight here into things that you do during the playoffs, and certainly best of luck to you and the Spartans here in your quest for number 10.
Thank you for having me on, and we look forward to talking to you guys again soon, maybe.
Here's our winningest takeaway from our conversation with Coach Flowers. I think the thing that stuck with me the most was reacting versus forcing the opponent's hands. And I think a lot of times we might think of defense as reactionary, but I think when you can take the approach of more of playing offense on defense, of doing things that forces them to come out of their norm, and a lot of that is found on the data, the tendencies that you can use to disrupt their strategies. So find some of those tendencies, see how you can maximize what you do to force their hand and get them out of what they're doing, or as we like to say, make them play left-handed. Be sure to check out our partners Vertical Raise for your fundraising needs, Modern Football Technology for analytics and in-game decision-making, and Signature Championship Rings when you win the championship this year. Links and information to all of our partners can be found in the description and on coachandcoordinator.com in our 10% toolkit. Follow us on X at Coach K. Grabowski.